This is the Post Shift Podcast, a raw look at the hospitality industry. What has happened to Post Shifters, and welcome to another episode of the Post Shift Podcast. Of course, I'm your host, Shawn Soole. The last couple of weeks has been very, very different because if you haven't noticed, a lot of the episodes that I've done have all revolved around recordings I did before COVID-19 sort of outbroke here in North America. And so what that has made me do has had to go back to the people that I interviewed and sort of get an update to bring context to pre and post COVID-19 coming out and shutting down the hospitality industry. Today is no different. It's Francesco Lafranconi from Vegas, who's a huge influence on my career, massive peer and friend, which is just amazing. He's just a fantastic guy. So I sat down and had a chat with him a couple of weeks ago while I was in Vegas, but then I got on the phone and had a good long chat about how things have changed for him over the last little while. So I hope you enjoy this episode. I'm going to do like a cut in between the two conversations to give you context. But hope you enjoy this episode, guys. Thanks.
Hi, I'm well. How are you doing?
Oh, good. Staying busy. I feel busier than I was before, so I suppose that's a good thing to keep yourself out of trouble. So
that's fantastic news.
Yeah. Well, this doesn't mean I'm making money. It just means that I'm busy.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm actually starting to get, companies are starting to reach out as well.
Yeah, I think.
And,
I think for the first week or two, everybody was just like, what the hell? And now the marketing departments and the PR departments are seeing the opportunities and adapting and innovating. So I think over the next couple of months, it's going to be a bigger change and a bit more of a pivot for marketing to go online a bit more.
Yeah.
So how are you doing, my friend?
I'm okay. Trying to figure out the next move. As of now, I'm unemployed. So we have to figure out if the hotel is going to open my venue again or not. So I'm in the limbo as of now.
Really, then, are they keeping you in the loop of things that are progressing and stuff, or are you really just completely in limbo?
As of now, there are no news. They extended their paying. Their group, Station Casinos, are paying their employees extended pay from April 30th to May 15th now. But we don't belong to them because we are a managing company.
Mm-hmm. So how have things changed in Vegas since everything happened from a sort of venue sense?
It's very, I would say, hospitality is very chaotic, because employees, they, right now they feel kind of left, they receive all laid off letters, You might have read that, Akasan Group let go 1,500 employees and something like that, and many companies are going to furlough their employees and so forth. So it's probably going to start to settle in, shortly. But as of now, there's still a lot of uncertainty and a lot of, stressful, circumstances to deal with because, you need to understand that hospitality is probably, one of the tourism and hospitality is one of the very, very first, businesses that will be highly compromised because of a lack of consumer confidence on traveling and getting exposed, It's not like going to the bank or the grocery store or run your chores. It's more, having good time, shoulder to shoulder. I mean, just think about the concept of a nightclub. Mm-hmm. How can you have a nightclub distancing people? So It's, I don't think we as society have figured it out yet. We don't even know what is going to be next, when we're going to come out of this. But I think there was a very good conversation by Dr. Anthony Fauci that you can also have access on the Wall Street Journal podcast.
Mm-hmm.
It's called Dr. Anthony Fauci on how life returns to normal. And, what's interesting of his perspective is that as the White House, representative, and also from the scientific, medical point. So I think it's a very good, introspective and analysis of what he sees, and based on his experience and his eyes, how society will resume to somewhat normality. But on the other hand, if you read through the notes, as a business owner, you might be able to catch quite a few insights to start to lay the foundations for new business approach, when the lockdown, will be lifted up and so forth. So that's something that I recommend to listen. But, this is a different situation because we are not coming out of a war where the common denominator could have been, destruction, demolition, and so forth. This is more of a, bacteria virus that you get by, being in contact with others, touching surfaces. So, it's not about, we're investing in infrastructures, we're investing in this and that. So right now, instead of that, you will have the medical field ramping up. But, as far as hospitality, I think we need to work with the local. There's going to be, this is how I see it. And from a complete, uneducated and not a qualified individual to say, but as a citizen that I am experiencing the situation, I think in our business, if we need to be able to readapt to the circumstances, to the current series of events, there is going to be much more synergies between chambers of commerce and health departments, because is the health department that will ultimately be able to provide the guidelines to maintain, the proper conduct of business based on the circumstances. But it's the Chamber of Commerce that with individual sectors that they need to educate their individuals. So, I can see that there is a few of us in hospitality and consulting that might will partake in that role. The role that instead of going out and consult and just talk about, hey, this is how this whiskey is made or this vodka is made. Now it's saying, okay, these are the requirements, and in the case that you're making this drink, so you need to follow these steps. And I think at least until we don't come back to normality, which is hopefully when the vaccine, will be available to each one of us, and we will feel safe. But between now and then, which is probably another, 10 to 16 months, 12 to 18 months, probably that's what they say. And for the time being, everything is going to be still very precarious and up in the air, and there will still be fear. Of course, you have a pocket of consumers or that society that they don't care. They feel, strong and, untouchable. But for the most part, there will be a lot of more sensitivity. But if you're looking I think right now everybody got caught by surprise, right? And whether you start from the top, the government all the way down to the local entities, business entities, there's a lot of confusion and misdirections. But if you're looking at what Japan did from after World War II until early 90, right, when they crashed the economy, but they were able to be one of the strongest economies in the world because they created an interlocking business relationship called Keiretsu. And the Keiretsu was a connection of a networking of financial institutions with businesses. And this is why it's very difficult still nowadays to do business in Japan, because there is this kind of a very intertwined business, but they help each other out. In these times of uncertainty and insecurity, we need to come together. If we don't come together with the institutions, with the local government, because at the end of the day, there is no consumer confidence. And how we are going to rebuild that, is when our peers, our friends and colleagues, our customers, they understand what are the new salaries, the new interest rates, how they're going to get by every month, and if their hours are reduced. Because think about it, nowadays you probably were not going to go to work 7 days a week. Now the business might close down 2 days a week or more, so there is a reduce in labor as well as personnel. So now that's the situation that we need to face. Is this we need to re-engineer, the labor and also the human capital. It's there are certain aspects of our businesses that will probably have to disappear, or they will be strongly compromised by the close contact interaction. And that's where we are going to become very astute about it. I think we're going to see a lot of human ingenuity to come into place because we are an incredible race, and when we come together, we can really make an impact into societies and environment and so forth. So it's a teamwork, talk about. I mean, if you want to talk about business related, where bartenders might understand the analogy, you're looking at when Irish Distillers Limited got together. You had Bushmill and Jameson, basically Middleton, coming together, and they said, "Look, we're losing, to our whiskey categories, and we gotta be strong together, even if we are competing for the same, market share." And they got together. Look at, after so many years, though. But this is just a very, long shot reference. But now Irish whiskey is booming, is very, very strong. But what I'm trying to say that at the core of the business is these alliances, and we need to ally with multiple type of businesses. And that's basically, I think, where we are now. It's a reassessment, that we need to do. And we're going to walk into more of an antiseptic society. There's going to be more awareness about contagion each other. There is some kind of a mandatory distance, which is, the social distance. So we need to remove covers and the tables from restaurants and allow more distance. But what scares me still is the fact that, how people are going to get on a plane and, if you're stuck in the middle seat and you have passengers left and right and someone is coughing, and then you walk into from the airport, you get into a car that somebody is driving, you don't know if that person is safe or not. Going to a hotel, stay in the hotel, hopefully everything is sanitized, disinfected and on and on and on. So there will be some paranoia, but that paranoia, perhaps a percentage of that will also help to maintain the awareness, you know.
So on a personal level right now, how are you dealing with isolation and being stuck at home, basically?
Well, I have to be honest with you. Despite you know, the remuneration, you know, the stipend and so forth and all of that, I'm actually, I think this is for me to stay home right now just to catch up on life and all the paperwork and all the ideas and all the mood boards that I am putting together for businesses. And I mean, this is heavenly for me, you know. I feel like I never expected that through this time of despair, and you know, I'm able to catch up with life, you know, to go through a lot of stuff that I had in boxes for a decade, you know, and so I am trying to get the best out of the circumstances. So I'm definitely missing Mr. Coco, my bar, my employees, my customers, my guests, you know, the energy, the products. I miss everything, you know, the sound, the bar, the smell, the look of the beautiful, you know, design and everything. But on the same time, this forced vacation has to be useful to basically reconnect with yourself and understand what you've been doing right so far and wrong, missed opportunities. I think it's a moment that the world struck into a forced pause, and we are all in this together. You know, it's not just a pocket of a country or a town or a region, it's or a continent. All of us are in the same boat right now. So you can either, you know, start to be very anxious about it and increase anxiety, stress, and be negative and start to deliver negative energy with your peers in your home, you know, around you, and you can become more, you know, negative and mean, but that will not take you anywhere, because at the end of the day, we need to stay fit, healthy, mentally, physically, and ready to start off the gate when, you know, life will resume, even if it's going to be compromised from what we left a month ago. We still be part of the society, and we do have responsibilities and commitment. So we need to be positive. I love to share dozen and dozen of WhatsApp, you know, jokes and make people laugh, and I see their emojis coming back, you know, I'm laughing my ass off and this and that, because at least, you know, I'm sharing a moment of happiness when people open and they laugh. And I mean, I laugh when I wake up in the morning, you know, I watch it and start laughing in bed by watching. So laughing is very good, and drinking it's definitely, for those who like to enjoy alcoholic beverages, it's something there that, you know, gives you some relief at times, but everyone has to be very careful because it's easy to get into a spiral, and if we are stuck like this for another month or so, and you've been drinking every day, it's you know, it can start to raise concern also for your health, and this is very, very important, because you don't want to resume your job, your profession, that you are not only financially compromised now, but also mentally and physically. So to all our friends and peers in hospitality, but anyone there that is listening, I urge everybody to apply very responsible drinking, and you know, drinking heavily will not help you next day to find a cure for the vaccine, or, you know, or find your bank account full. So very important that we stay aware, and we are confined, but we need to, you know, time is valuable, it's precious, and It's a very rare commodity, and I think right now we do have the privilege to be able to manage time the way that we never be able to manage before.
Thank you so much for your time, sir. I appreciate that I got to sit down with you a month ago before all this happened and hang out, because you are one of my favorite peers and mentors. A lot of the stuff you do is it's influenced my life a great deal. So I want to thank you for that.
Yeah, my pleasure, Shawn. Anytime. You're a dear friend and a great professional too, and I do look up to your great ideas and accomplishments, and so very stimulating indeed. So stay safe. Happy Easter.
Thank you, sir.
And
have a good day.
Thank you. Enjoy the wonderful days of spring and the birds chirping.
Thank you.
Okay.
Have a good day. Bye bye.
You too.
Just going to interject here. That was the phone call that I had with Francesco a little while ago about how things have changed for him in Vegas and the industry, his job, so on and so forth. He gave a lot of great insight for Wall Street journals and all this sort of stuff. So he's a very, very philosophical gentleman, and I really enjoyed his sort of take on life after all this, because Vegas has been hit so hard. Well, everybody's been hit really hard, but Vegas is so tourism driven. It's been hit very, very hard when it comes to the hospitality industry. But that being said, I hope you enjoyed that post-COVID interview. Next up, we've got the pre, when we were taking a walk through Mr. Coco's, and it was just a different time. And I just wanted to sort of bring context to everything, because right now, a lot of the people in the industry are hurting. Next week is Tobin Ellis, which I did a live stream with him. So you got a lot of information coming up. I hope you enjoyed the rest of this episode, guys. Thanks. Bye.
We've had a long afternoon already, and you've got to get off to another meeting, which is the perfect thing with these podcasts. Like, so my podcast is always sort of light and breezy, mainly because at the end of the day, I'm very transparent and raw with everything, because I think our industry in this day and age, we've been doing it long enough that it gets befuddled with social media and influences and nice cocktail pictures and stuff. And I think now I like to pull it back as far as possible and show the struggles, the successes, the failures, everything as we go. So how'd you get into bartending?
Well, bartending for me, Shawn, it became a very spontaneous evolution of my family business, because my parents and my relatives, in Lake Como, Italy, north of Milan, they always had grocery stores and bars. So I was literally born in a bar and grew up with my family business. And then I went to hotel school, and I was contemplating the idea to become a chef or a pastry chef, because I like decoration, garnishes, for cakes and so forth. But I didn't have access to it because they closed the number for enrollment. So I ended up being front of the house, and I found an incredible mentor of mine, and we used to own a piano bar called White Lady, the Dama Bianca, with one of Italy's largest collection of single malts. So I fell in love with the business, with the category, and I wanted to pursue bartending to the highest level as possible. So I really knew since very early on that I want to be a bartender for all my life. White jacket behind a 5-star hotel bar, getting to know everybody that walks through. It's like bar stool, you have the world coming through you, That's why bartender fascinates me so much.
And I think sometimes that gets sort of lost. Like, people think that a neighborhood bar, in a suburb of Brooklyn, is very different to what you were saying, like the white tuxedo behind a hotel bar. And people think that the one is more personable than the other. But you see your style of service and stuff as the same as if someone walked into a neighborhood joint and experienced the bar the same.
At the end of the day, Shawn, we are in hospitality, and the stereotype is that, yes, you go to a bar, you order a drink, but at the end of the day, we are in the people business. So whether you work in a dive bar or in a 5-star hotel bar concept, at the end of the day, what probably varies is the offering and the delivery, but also dealing with locals is one thing with certain expectation, and more a high demand, spoiled, sometimes more even more arrogant customer or guest in a 5-star luxury hotel because they have a lot of money, they feel they are entitled and they have more social status, right? But at the end, we are all providing a service, and I think it's fascinating the way that you go to a dive bar or a neighborhood bar and you feel comfortable and you can't wait to finish your shift or at the end of the working day to go and relax and unwind, around the corner to your favorite local bar. But sometimes when you want to treat yourself, you can explore another venue or more of a high-end, to impress somebody, maybe your date or your friends, right? Or they come out of town, and let's go here because we can show something different and entertain you with a different expectation. So no matter where you are, at the end of the day, it's all about the guest.
So how long ago did you... No, I shouldn't say this. How long ago did you start? What year was it that you kicked off
Officially,
your career?
I was 15, 16 when I started hotel school. That's when I started to savor, so to speak, like to sip on high-end service and, amazing whiskey bottles from the 1960s.
Oh, wow.
Gordon MacPhail Connoisseur Choice back in the days. And that's exactly where I realized that this is my world. And my career started. I had a very strong self-awareness because I knew where I wanted to end up being. So I started working in specific resorts with keeping consideration that each one of them would enrich my curriculum, right? But also strengthening my weakest link. So I needed to be fast, so I went to work in a nightclub. I needed to know coffee, so I went to a coffee bar. I need to know how to make ice cream and prepare ice cream, so I went to work for ice cream. I knew I need to learn about tea or hotel bar, so I cover every one of them, but always the best that the city could offer or the resort could offer, because I didn't want to waste time. I wanted to say, okay, this is what I need to learn. I go to learn from the best. I don't have room for mediocrity. The time goes fast. I need to build my curriculum, my resume, so when I go out in the world on my own, I know exactly how much I can ask or how much I can learn or how much I can offer.
Do you still have that passion today?
Even more, actually.
Yeah?
I do.
I think there's sort of a perception that once you get to a certain level of the industry, that you're sort of like, you've tapped out.
I don't think that hit me yet, because I learn every day. I have a strong sense of humbleness when I go to, for instance, a Japanese restaurant and I am in front of shochus or sake options, despite the fact I took a sake level 1 course and with John Gunther from Tokyo, but I still have, oh my God, I have so much to learn about sake. Then I go to a wine restaurant, and yes, I do know my wine, but there are so many wines that I don't know, and I say I should know about the grapes from this area of Germany or Spain.
Mm-hmm.
And when I look at whiskeys or vodkas or gin, the more I'm exposed to new brands, the more I'm frustrated because I should know it all. So to your question, no, the passion hasn't faded yet.
So when did you come to the US? And what brought you to the US?
What brought me to the US, it was a manifestation of hospitality, because I was working at the Hotel Cipriani in Venice in 1998 in October, and I was closing the bar, but I was taking a double shift because a colleague called in sick, and I decided to take over, even if it was my Friday, ready to go home and commute by train for a couple hours. And 2 gentlemen from the United States walked in, and they wanted to have some chocolate ice cream after restaurant hours. I was able to provide the ice cream. I was able to give them other drinks. And one of them happened to be my dear boss, Larry Ruvo, who runs Southern Glacier Wine and Spirits of Nevada. And for 20 years, we are friends, 22 years. And I worked for him for 18 years. And him and I basically, he sponsored my green card, and we created the ambassadorship program because 99, 2000, there were no ambassadors, but when suppliers like John Esposito at that time, I was at the helm of Sheffling and Somerset when they launched Tanqueray 10 and Belvedere and Chopin, they saw that if you have a representation and a spokesperson for your brand, it goes to the market, it could be very beneficial. Keep in mind that back then there was only Dale DeGroff at the Rainbow Room, Windows of the World back then, that it was endorsing some brands, but everybody else it was just brewing. So when they saw in the distributorship someone that could actually talk about brands in a way that it was an educator, so they start to realize that they start to bring in. So now you see this amazing ambassador like Charlotte Voicy, Ryan McGarian back in the days, and many, and then all around the world. But I think Charlotte truly, what she did for William Grant, and it's remarkable. And then the Bacardi people follow, with the Jacob Breyer's team, and so forth. So it's an incredible journey that we've been experiencing for the past 20 years.
I think a lot of younger bartenders these days, they miss the fact that in 2000 there was no internet. Like, even then, there was no real internet to speak of in the way there is now. Like, Facebook wasn't a big thing until 2006, 2007. So like, for when you wanted to learn things and experience things, and that's something you literally have to go out and buy a book and like go to a bookstore and track it down. Like, I remember I did a tasting with Jacob Breyers in 2001 or 2 on vodka when he was a 42 Below back in Australia.
The doctor.
Yeah, so yes, the vodka professor.
Vodka doctor.
Yeah. But you just didn't have that sort of like access to resources that you have now.
When I was at Glen Eagles Hotel in Scotland in 1994, I was 22, and I reached out to multiple distilleries, Glenmorangie, Bombay Sapphire. I remember a few other Scotch distilleries. And then all of a sudden, about a month later, I received an airmail package with a Bombay Sapphire blue polo with a logo and a letter saying thank you for promoting our brand, and then a brochure with the Carter Head Still and the 10 botanicals, and I was reading it. I was like, liquid gold for me. And then the same thing from Glenmorangie, where they start to release the wood finishes, Madeira, Sherry Port, and I couldn't believe that I had this access to this, it was like 94, and I was able to get straight from the source this information. So that one made me, so willing to learn and absorb like a sponge, so I could share with my guests, behind the bar.
When you said you met up with the guys from Southern Glazers, were you in Italy at that time?
I was in Venice, Italy. Yes, I was working there in the summer.
How serendipitous is that?
If I was tired and want to go home and say, what, I'm sorry, I'm not going to do a double. I'm just going to go home. Yeah. But then I decide to take a double. I decide to extend my bar hours, because at the hotel we have 3 bars: the pool bar, the aperitivo bar, the San Giorgio, where we met my future boss at that time, Mr. Ruvo, and then the Gabbiano, which means the seagull, which is the piano bar, after hour bar. So I was closing the second bar, and there's 2 gentlemen with the baseball cap, shorts, and tennis shoes, and polo came in, But when you work in a 5-star hotel, you never know what comes through. It could be someone underdressed and is a billionaire, So I decide to just say, you know what? These are 2 guests. They're looking for chocolate ice cream, and let's give it to them.
I think around that era as well, like I remember I was I worked on Hayman Island in the Whitsundays, which is a 5-star resort up there in the Great Barrier Reef, in around that time as well. And it was around the time that .com millionaires became really popular, and like our penthouse was like a $4,000 a night
sort of space. And so you also had 22-year-old kids who were like literally just became like internet millionaires like 6 months ago, come and stay there and just drop thousands of dollars in the place. And you could never tell. It went from like everybody who was mid-40s, white, like older, being rich, to 22-year-old kids being the same amount of rich. And so you can never tell when you worked in 5-star hotels who was...
No, I agree. And but even here at Mr. Coco, we had this, people from different walks of life, and, you meet CEOs, you meet people from the cannabis industry, that they're all super wealthy these days. Tech or UFC, all over. I mean, it's beautiful. It's really a window into the world, and at the end of the day, we are citizens of the world, right? We travel, we meet people, we entertain, guests. So it's I'm always surprised, but I expect every day to meet somebody that can potentially change your life.
So you were with Southern Glazers for 18 years?
18 years. I started March 1st, 2000, and I ended up March 2nd, Friday, 2018, just to open Mr. Coco.
And you must, in 18 years, again, that's a long tenure for most, even brand ambassadors and educators and stuff with one brand. What sort of changes in the industry did you see in 18 years?
Well, in 18 years, you started to have more defined categories establishing themselves to the level of rye whiskey, mezcal, the tequila booming, the stalling, the reinventing themselves, in the tequila world with different, finishing, wood barrel aging, and so forth, and bourbon whiskey starting to step out of the stereotype or the traditional mash bill and the barrel finishing. So that is one thing that I saw. I saw a lot of that. Vodka tried to gas for hair, right? And from the booming, I remember when I was in the beginning of my career with Southern Glacier Wine and Spirits, I would receive probably 10 different labels a month of vodka, to sample. And then I started to have that on the tequila world. And then I started to see that in the, rum, and then bourbon, and now gin. Right, so it's an evolution, and it seems like the Europe and United States and North America, and with a little bit of Asia involved, mostly Singapore, Hong Kong, but and Japan. But it's like a ping pong effect. We start something hot here, it goes overseas, and then from overseas we trickle back here. Like rum, for instance, right? Rum is very strong in Europe, not necessarily in America. Then we exporting bourbons and rye and mezcal. Now in Italy, for instance, and Europe, everybody wants mezcal, right? It's so the evolution has been quite dramatic, so to speak, because it's been from, you're thinking about the Cosmo, the apple martini, with those packering, sweet and sour, liqueurs and schnapps, and so to speak. And then you see the evolution of the American palate, from very sweet to now even the most bitter Amaro from Italy is not enough. and again, this is not for the average Joe.
Yeah.
But for the trendsetters, for
when people saying Fernet's not too sweet now, it's like, oh,
I know Fernet. They go like, oh my god, where's the sugar coming from? At one point, I think I have to change my Amuse Bouche and give them a piece of gentian root to chew on.
Just to chew on while they're waiting. So we're sitting in Mr. Coco, which is I'm a very fastidious designer, and I'm very picky about little things. There's always the little touches for me that 9 times out of 10, I have a thing called subconscious chaos that everybody in their life wants to see subconscious
tailoring and boxes and compartmentalization, because out in the real world it's all chaos. And the little touches in the space that you took me for a walkthrough is just amazing. What drove you? Like, we talked about what drives you every morning to learn more and educate yourself more and stuff like that, but what drove you to leave what I assume was a relatively, like, good, well-paying, fulfilling job at Southern Glazers to, like, leaving and really taking a risk and opening your own place?
Well, Shawn, I gave up 6 figures, to embrace, to embark in this journey. But in my 18 years of consulting for national account chains and hotels and restaurants, and I always hoped that I was able to see my white lady, the Dama Bianca in Italian, piano bar, feel an environment, and I haven't seen it. I met a lot of operators with the great expectations, and they talk the talk, but they didn't deliver. I see a lot of clients who asking to bring in and try to shift, their program with a very poorly back bar design, where there's no room for glassware or for bottles. It was very challenging, and I decided that I needed to do something for the industry. I wanted to be an incubator for the city of Las Vegas, which has been an incredibly amazing for me. I'm so grateful for the community that is here, from hospitality as well as consumers-wise. So I said it's time for Francesco to do what he started his career with, to learn how to be a great host. Not that I'm great, but I definitely wanted to be a very good host. I have that sense of responsibility for my guests to give them a wonderful experience. And drinking choices, so the attention to details. And I've been traveling around the country, and I never come across to a full package. And maybe Mr. Coco is not the full package, but it's definitely a step above what I've been experiencing as a guest, as a customer. And I hope, and the reason why I opened Mr. Coco is because I want people to not copy the concept, but make it better. And become, I would like to see the pinnacle of Mr. Coco from, major corporation, hotel, resorts in Las Vegas, or, private investors. I don't mind. But I think that's the way that we can increase and raise the bar in Las Vegas. So walking away from the traditional, casino lounge to be more committed with glassware, garnishes, attention to details, cleanliness of the workspace. And that's what it is. Because I truly believe that, the sense of beauty and the aesthetic value is within us. Now, there are cultures and societies that they have that more acute, like Italians, for instance, because of fashion, or car design, furniture design. And then someone maybe lack that because they have other priorities in life, right? Or they are exposed to different stimulation. But when a guest comes to Mr. Coco, needs to feel transported to another dimension, to a different place, because you are here to spend $20, $25 for a cocktail, which is $4 or $5 more than the average, and you need to have an experience. You need to feel pampered. This accessible luxury that we're offering as a cost. But in the same token, when you want to impress your date or your friends or your out-of-town, guest, or closing a business deal, this is why Mr. Coco can be that situation, that environment that gives you exclusivity, uniqueness, and making you feel special. And everything comes, everything happened for a reason, and I wanted to do something on my own years ago, but maybe I wasn't ready. Maybe I didn't have enough stories to tell. And now I have stories to tell, whether from the liquor industry or from the walk of life, or maybe I wasn't mature enough back then to be able to sustain this type of clientele. But when you come to Mr. Coco, you feel a sense of cohesiveness and harmony. The guests are not on their cell phone. They only use the phone to take pictures of the drinks, or the space, or take a picture to, to commemorate the space. But everybody talks, everybody converse, and in this, time of our society where everything is about digital and smartphones, and people come back, and here is they feel back to the roots. The staff is, works in a very calm, harmonious way. They don't slam the bottles. There is no noise coming out of the bar. And the music plays, the decor, the artwork, the lighting, and the scent, right? Everything falls into places. So there you have all these subliminal messages that the guest picks up, but they don't know where they come from, or they're not all visible. And that's the beauty of a place that makes you dream, that makes you feel special. And there are no secrets. All I do is just combining all the successful business platforms that I experienced in the past and experiences, and try to bottle that into Mr. Coco.
Why Mr. Coco?
Well, Mr. Coco is because it's twofold. One, Coco, my 10-year-old Westie, a wonderful male dog that my daughter Elisa helped me to put together the concept. And two, because my daughter, is a big fan of Coco Chanel, because of her work ethic as the first one of the female pioneers in the early 1900s, to go against the grain, so to speak, of society and our fashion and so forth. So our work ethic, and also our approach to luxury and lifestyle. So Chanel is a great renowned brand, and so Coco, the fashion, Coco the dog, and Mr. Coco came to life.
Are you this is a question I didn't ask you while we were off tape. Are you the first, I'm going to use the word celebrity bartender to open a place in Vegas, a la like celebrity chef style?
No, Shawn, realistically speaking, I don't think that I am a celebrity bartender. I do have, internationally recognitions, which I'm very proud and honored. But at the same time, I don't even own a website. I don't even.
You don't have francescolafranconi.com?
No, I don't have. My Instagram is very, very, very to the minimum. I'm very old school, and I just like to interact with people. I just like to make people special. Because people come here. Think about this. It's a venue like any other venues, right? And but people, they take the time to dress up, to carve out an hour or two of their time in their life for that specific day. And they have to park or valet or whatever, and they have to walk up here to find the space to sit down and spend $25 or more dollars for. It's a commitment. So to come and spend time here, I have to make sure that is directly proportional to their effort. So for me, I'm not just another bar in Las Vegas where it's a turn and burn. Oh, you're a tourist. Okay, just give me your money and sayonara, right? You come here. It's a destination, within the hotel. It's not that I'm on a casino floor or easy to find. So it's very important that we're able to find that. Can you stop 1 second?
Mm-hmm. That's okay.
Hi.
You started open yet, are you?
No. Did you find the door open downstairs?
Yeah, there was no hostess, so I apologize about that. I didn't know. It's my first time here.
Oh, sorry. No, we open at 8 o'clock tonight.
Okay, no problem. Thank you.
Sorry, thank you.
Is there a number that I can call?
Yes.
Because I need to create a wrap party for Saturday night. I don't know if you'd be open, so...
why don't you email me at Francesco at Mr. Coco. I'm Francesco.
I'm Gilda. Nice to meet you.
Yes. And,
Are you sampling anything? I'm just kidding. Okay.
Yeah, and I'll see you. Yeah, email me and then I'll put you in contact, and then you can explain what you're
Jake's
looking
number,
for.
but I don't know. You guys are third party, right?
Yes,
Okay.
we are. But
Sorry.
Thank you. No problem. How can it be unlocked? It's very strange.
I remember hearing it locked behind us.
But Dario,
came in behind us.
yeah. How can it be unlocked?
So what are you saying?
You know, the dean, what is funny? This is, talking about coincidence, like, no worries, we are with Tobin at the moment.
Actually, Tobin said that he had a meeting with him too. Why you say that you're not, and of course you're super ridiculously humble. You've been doing this longer than the internet has really been the internet. So, but for me, like, I know I talked to the story like 10 years ago. This month was the first month that I had my first like junket trip to Cognac for the BNIC years ago. And for me, being an Australian bartender, traveling to France for my first big like brand trip ever, I remember getting the list of people that were coming, and for me, I'm still super ridiculously grateful that I get a chance to get a sit down chat to you and Tobin, and we did a seminar a couple of years ago at Tails, and I have Duff on speed dial whenever I need him and stuff like that. So while you say that, like, for me, I'm 100% grateful for everything you've done in the industry. I'm probably a little bit more plugged in than some of the younger generation because I never had that sort of like amount of resources to me, so you had to sort of research absolutely everybody. But I think you shouldn't undersell yourself because your inspiration, along with Tony and like Bridget and that sort of thing, for Southern Glazers was so far-reaching that I followed and sort of saw you as a peer in Canada way back in the mid-2000s when I first came to Canada. Like, I think Australia has always been seen as like this sort of like wonderful little cocktail island in the middle of nowhere. But for me, coming to Canada, even Victoria, BC, which is freaking tiny as hell, having the opportunity to get to know and meet people who I class as heroes and then become friends with is just second to none for me.
Well,
even now, like, I'm going on 40 this year, and
I think Shawn is in every industry, in every craft, it's very important to find or to have a mentor. The mentor. Sometimes the mentor can also be your partner, not necessarily somebody in the industry, but somebody with the outside view, with a different perspective that sees how you are progressing in your career and so forth, and they can tell you you're doing this right or you should do this in a different way. But I think I've been, and I am very grateful, the fact that I always have a mentor in my life. I went to work in multiple, hotels in Europe, and I always found somebody that would take me under his or her wing and, coach me through and show me, the real world, not painted, just in a different way. And always people gave me a chance. And I'm doing this with my stuff, I'm paying forward. I think it's very important to look up for somebody and establish a connection and see if this person can help you.
Was it an easy road doing Mr. Coco? Was there a time when, like, was there a point in time leading up to the opening that you were like, shit, what have I got myself into? Did I make a horrible mistake?
It's I wouldn't say a horrible mistake. I would say, gosh, I left so much. Am I gonna make it? 96% of the businesses, or 98%, they don't last within a year. That's what they told me, right? In America, at least. So we made it 13 months. We're still climbing. We're nowhere near where we need to be. But we receive some nationwide awards, and the word is starting to spread out, and the guests are very excited and very rewarding and very happy, when they leave Mr. Coco. So I think it's just a little while more than it will take to be where we need to be as far as business volume and so forth. But yes, of course, it's been very tough. It's been very tough because it depends where you are. If you are a freestanding or if you are in a resort like where we are, there are situations that you have to deal with marketing, you have to deal with planning. They close the nightclub, so 1,000 of people that we could have over the weekend are no longer here, and so there have been challenges. But what is amazing is that the employees that are hired from day one, the majority are still here.
Oh, wow.
Someone left because of they had opportunities out of state, or they had their own reason. But I still have the original bartenders, the original hostesses, and
which is especially difficult in Vegas.
It is, and no matter what, you can have $1 million chandelier in the bar or a fancy, furniture, but at the end of the day, it's all about people. And if you don't have the right people to manage and promote and endorse your philosophy and your vision, you won't go anywhere. This is the problem, and that I see. People hire, good-looking, handsome, bartenders and fancy furniture, and but at the end of the day, if you have no substance, you won't be able to, to linger on. And I'm very grateful with my staff because I am not worried about pilfering. I'm not worrying. I mean, they call me, if I'm off, they call me and say, may I take care of a guest drink or so,
Wow.
So we have that trust. We have that communication. We share. And we've been through roller coasters, right, to get where we are. And so I think the more harsh times you spend with your team, with your employees, the stronger the relationship builds up, and that's the beauty. That's why there are some great companies like I can mention Herbs and Rye, for instance, where with Nectario Mendoza and his partners, and they've been working together to so much and so hard, because in the beginning they were making not even $100 a night. Now it's a killing machine. Everybody who comes to Vegas must go to Herbs and Rye. So hopefully it will happen to Mr. Coco as well. But it's a wonderful situation. Luckily, the ownership understands and supports. And yes, there are some challenges moments, where you say, my God, I mean, everybody in their 40s, they're walking out of this business. They're going to be brand ambassadors, or consultant. And look at me, I'm 47 and I'm going back into it until 4 a.m. That's why. But I realized that this is a stage, and I'm here, and I was meant to entertain, to host. And I don't mind to cook a pasta at 1 or 2 a.m. and open a great glass of, a bottle of wine and for guests, or to give that special moment, to give that special liquid memory. It's what it's all about. Because at the end of the day, what we will take with us is memories of your family, your loved ones, your friends, and maybe that bar that for one time you stumble into it, and you had this courteous bar staff that took care of you, and made your night memorable. And just the time that you and I spent time in Cognac, right, in France, and great time, we will treasure that memory forever. And how many times you walk into bars, nobody knows you, you sit down, and then after closing hours, 2, 3, 4 in the morning, you're still there drinking with the owner or with the bartenders. It happened to me in Japan, it happened to me anywhere, Israel, and so it's that's the beauty of hospitality. Expect the unexpected.
I was going to ask more questions, but I'm going to cut it off there because that was the best line ever. and I know you need to get to a meeting. So thank you so much for sitting down. I could literally talk to you for like 2 hours. Actually, we actually literally have been talking for 3 hours. I literally wish I could have mic'd you up and just recorded the last 3 hours.
No worries. I don't want to bore anybody, especially they need to have the dictionary to translate. It's. I want to conclude with my quote. And we're not drinking, we're learning.
I saw that above the bar, and it's very subtle, and I loved it so much.
It's excellent.
Thank you so much.
Shawn, you've been a dear friend for so many years.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for everything you've done for the industry as well.
Thank you. Thanks for listening, Pose Shifters. I hope you enjoyed that episode. I really enjoy sitting down with friends and peers and just chatting about the industry and getting down to the nuts and bolts of what's really going on out there. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment, everything on all the platforms. Just hit it up and I'll do my best to answer any queries or questions you have. I'll see you next week, guys. Bye.